We are the sober New Yorker crew, living our lives in a brighter hue. There is a life without alcohol, and we're standing proud, we'll never fall.
Hi, everyone. This is a very special day for myself and the Sober New Yorker podcast because I am filming my first in-person podcast with the incredible, incomparable Megan. Say hi, Megan.
Hello, Melissa.
How are you today? So Megan and I have known each other for a while. She is a part of the Sober Motivation community, and we've met in person. We met at the Sober meetup in Toronto last September. She's a part of my group coaching. She's one of my happier hour ladies, and she's also a mom, a labor delivery nurse, and I've heard her story, her sober story, shared on my group meeting, and I cannot wait to get to it today in person. This is such an honor. Thank you so much for being here. And so, what brings you to New York? You should tell everyone.
Oh my gosh, that's a good story. I did a study abroad in college in the year 2000. I lived in New Zealand, and two of my roommates, we've kept in touch, and I've been with one of them individually, but all three of us haven't been together since the year 2000, so 26 years ago. And one lives in New Zealand, but moved here a couple years ago, and one lives in Glasgow, Scotland. And we just decided in my sobriety, when we make plans, they happen. And we talked about this over the summer, and here we are. We're all together.
It's so fun. And we went out to lunch beforehand, got to meet both of them, and it sounds like they're so supportive in your sobriety journey.
Incredibly.
Yeah, and we get a chance to hang in New York in Midtown at this beautiful studio.
I know. I have to share quickly that Melissa and I had talked about sitting down together, but I didn't know that we could maybe do it in person. And when I said I was coming out here, I thought, I'm gonna ask and see if she has time. And I am like overwhelmed by you and creating this moment for us. So I'm so full of gratitude. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I'm like pinching myself right now.
Yeah, well, me too. I love when you talk about that you were hanging out in New Zealand, and I mentioned this at lunch because when I hear New Zealand, not so much now, but the Sauvignon Blancs of New Zealand was my jam. Marlborough County or whatever it is. I mean, any New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So in my drinking days, I always thought, well, I've got to go there at some point and just drink my way through the country. And now I don't have to do that. I would still very much like to go, but it's so as time goes on. I mean, Megan just hit 10 months, amazing. But as time goes on, that I can't even imagine that being a part of my life anymore. And that is truly the gift of sobriety and making plans and sticking to them and making shit happen. When you said, is it possible to do an in-person? I thought, well, squeezing you into my son's room, which is about the size of this studio right now, or with a bed, it might not be ideal. So what did I do? I go to ChatGPT and said, tell me where the podcast studios are in New York. And here we are. So I'm so happy that this is happening, and let's get into it. Okay. So you are a labor and delivery nurse. You're a mom of 3. Where would you like to start with your sober story?
I could give you maybe the cliff notes of, because I'll pause and say I started EMDR therapy for a trauma that happened to me in March. And through that therapy, I was still drinking at the time, but I realized that I had Like I can look in hindsight and see my ramp up to alcoholism, and it definitely was brewing. Kind of started as a child, so with my environment. So I can start there, and then kind of give you the cliff notes. But I was born in 1978, and in Manhattan Beach, California, which is a beach town about 10 minutes from LAX, and it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. I have an older brother, 12 years older, and a younger sister. My dad is my brother's stepdad. And as my brother grew up, there, he had a lot of emotions. Teenager, got into some crime, and there was a lot of arguing in the house. I do remember that significantly from, up until the age of 7. And there was some violence, holes punched in walls, my door kicked down. Um, but especially between my dad and my brother, they struggled with each other, and I never knew how bad things were going to get. So I would say that my nervous system was exposed to that chaos and kind of got used to. I kind of need to shrink myself to not make things worse. And I need to be careful what I say, be the good girl. I got very good at reading the room. And when my dad, because he was an alcoholic, and I'm sure he was drinking alcohol at the time to cope with all of that stress,
Yeah.
that he was either really happy or really edgy. And when dad was edgy, I always felt like it was my fault. How can I make dad happy? I just want him to be happy. So that was all happening. And then my everything, my brother, my big brother, my sister is only 2 at the time, but he that third strike law, and ended up getting sent to prison for 5 years. And that was heartbreaking for me. My brother, in hindsight, said that was when he had to say goodbye to me at the prison when I was clinging to him, screaming and crying. He said that was his rock bottom. And I didn't know when he was going to come back. So as a 7-year-old, I have a 6-year-old, almost 7-year-old. And I mean, as a parent, my mom, I don't even know how I would explain that, to a young child.
Yeah.
And I just never thought I would see him again. So that was kind of I mean, I had these periods of my brother would take me to the beach before he went to prison. But we did a lot of things together, and as a family, it wasn't only this chaos. But I bring that up because I'm kind of a sensitive soul,
Yeah.
and I think my genetics and my personality really kind of soaked up some of those chaotic moments. And instead of having this real flexible nervous system, mine was kind of rigid.
Yeah.
So, when my brother was gone, there was kind of a quiet in the household. I know my dad probably felt some relief that we didn't have that bonking of heads, but I was incredibly sad. And I think they tried to create an environment that was different, fostering. We did a lot of trips, a lot of camping trips together. I remember those fondly. Then when I was 12, my brother got out of prison, and it was like this person just rose from the dead.
Yeah.
So that I never thought I was going to see him again. And then the chaos kind of came back in because there's not a lot of rehabilitation for people when they get out of prison. It's like, go ahead and fix yourself. So he still struggled for a little while. He's amazing now. He's kick ass. But so that kind of tornado came back into my life, all while I'm starting junior high, already feeling really anxious. I think my level of anxiety was a lot different than my peers. And in 8th grade, I had my first drunk, strawberry boons, Strawberry Hill. I remember that bottle of wine. I mean, so disgusting. And I know I got really sick, but that didn't matter. The calm that I felt, like I could be not the nervous Megan with the hamster wheel, like wanting everyone to be happy and not upset because I got so sensitive to that. I became like the Megan doesn't give a shit. Megan's the cool, laid back, like I can have fun. That alcohol really calmed my brain.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in with like the jock sports players. Like I just didn't grow up doing organized sports. I got into horses, but down by the beach, that wasn't a regular thing. So I wasn't doing volleyball, basketball, soccer. So I kind of got in with the party crowd.
Yeah.
And then I realized I could drink. I wasn't the girl that passed out in the bathroom, threw up.
Right.
I would have a drink, and I don't know if anyone else felt like this, but like a drink would be like a cup of coffee for me. And I didn't realize that was different. And I would get so much energy. And so I got the biggest partier of my class award. I was the beer bong queen, but I got almost straight A's. And so there wasn't this Megan has a problem. I didn't really have a lot of external consequences from drinking. It was like, oh, everyone else is doing it. I'm walking this, good line, academic line. I went to college. There's, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I was a weekend warrior, college, kind of the same thing, party on the weekends. But I knew like maybe I would party Saturday night and then I would nurse my hangover Sunday because I would have a test or I'd have to get back to school that week. And I didn't feel like that was a problem either. And then I went to grad school and, as long as I keep, pushing my academic bar and in professional life, I can work hard, play hard. I mean, that was my mentality with my dad.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I can relate 100%. And the Boone's Wine Farm. No, you want to hear a funny story. So my parents, when my dad, he worked for the Wisconsin Power and Light, and there was a time when we lived in a campground, in a camper, when I was about 3 or 4, and my brother was like a baby, toddler. And it was just a transitional housing, but we lived there. And my dad, who he drank quite a bit, but in control always, right? Kept a job, did blow up his life. He would drink Boone's wine, and he had a fence. He built a fence with the bottles.
With the bottles, yes.
Stacked around the campsite.
My dad would have been Franzi had boxes of wine.
Right. Well, that was later. But I remember as a grown up, my mom reminiscing about those camping days, or maybe, just recalling them. I don't know if reminiscing is a word for it, but that she had 2 little kids running around inside of this Boone's wine fenced campground. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that hilarious?
Wow.
So when I hear Boone's wine, that's how I think of the dough. And the wine cooler, the partying in college, in high school, I used to drink a 2-liter bottle of wine cooler myself. That was my drink for the night. And just like you, I could drink. I could keep up. It gave me energy. I mean, we know now, the Huberman podcast, you've got to listen to that. If alcohol is giving you energy, there's probably
Red flag.
yeah, red flag. So, but if you're keeping your studies intact, and I was on the basketball team, and I was in the shows, and yada yada yada, it didn't. There aren't, but I think as time went on for me, and maybe you can attest to this as well, as you become a grown up, there starts to be red flags popping up. And if you're living with someone who's also struggling, you talk about your father. So how did that affect you moving forward in your life, his alcoholism?
Well, looking back, I can clearly, I didn't know it at the time, but like his moods, it's like that induced bipolarism, right? Where you're either, and like he could be the life of the party. His laugh was infectious. His uncle, they were like a year and a half apart. The two of them would get going with their comedy and their laugh, and you could not stop laughing. And I loved that.
Yeah.
And maybe subconsciously, like, oh, look what alcohol does. And I didn't know that the low, he could be so moody. He would storm off during a Christmas dinner for no reason, slam his door. He would not go on vacation because he was so anxious, maybe not knowing when he could get his next drink.
Yeah.
I remember being little and knocking on the door, having to talk to him through a locked door. And I thought, but now I look back and, that was probably the hangover period and then the drinking period. But as I left for college, when I left, my sister really got the brunt of the real negative part of his drinking, because now we're leaving the nest. And then when she left, then I found out it was this binge. He was having these binge drinking sessions. So after grad school, I worked in a local vet school. I worked in a research lab for 6 years. Decided on my honeymoon to change my career after, my bachelor of science and then my master's. I wanted to become a nurse,
Yeah.
and that's a long kind of discussion on how I chose that, but I did. So then I went to nursing school, and it was like my first couple of weeks as a new nurse, and my mom told me how my dad was drinking. And I'm like, and as a nurse now and a daughter, I'm like, I have got to go home and help. And I bought a ticket that day, flew home to Southern California, and we filled up 2 huge trash cans, like those big plastic, um, big Rubbermaid trash cans full of bottles that he had hidden everywhere. I had no idea
Wow.
it was that bad. And I'm thinking, okay, that's an alcoholic, not what I do.
Right.
I still have my life together. I don't hide bottles. I don't do that.
Right.
And looked like he might have had internal bleeding. So my nursing brain is like, I have got to call 911. And I called 911, and the whole shebang shows up. And of course, one of the firefighters is someone I went to high school with, which was incredibly embarrassing. But once he realized, oh, they're gonna take me away, I can't be taken away. He like flipped a switch and got like he had some amount of coherency, and they couldn't take him against his will. And I didn't want to do a 5150, which is like an involuntary hold. And so they left, and I was, what am I gonna do? And I said, you know what? I'm worried about your health. Take this to go. I will fill up this to go mug of wine for you. I'm taking you to the ED. And we got him into the ER. I pulled my nursey credentials and got him to the front of the line because I thought he was gonna have like a varices burst or something, and that would kill someone pretty quickly. He was very intoxicated. I can't remember what the alcohol level was. He got the banana bag and in a medical detox. But the second that anxiety hit him in a group setting, he got really angry and checked himself out. And that was the only time that I got him into a medical facility. And he was clean for a few months. And it was just this cycle with him. So when I had, so 2012 is when I started nursing school. And then, or sorry, I started my nursing job. And then I got pregnant for the first time and had my first son, Cooper, in January 1st, 2014. And my dad was supposed to come up with my mom, and he was in the middle of a binge session, and he couldn't get out of it. So she came by herself, and then she was worried because she left him, didn't know what was happening. And I was so angry. I was like, how dare you choose alcohol over me? And I couldn't get out of that. Your first grandchild.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I didn't talk to him for 7 months.
Wow.
And then, my heart was breaking. I remember sending him an email, and we kind of patched things up. But they were different. And, now that I'm a parent, was like, how could a parent do that to their child? And when Cooper, I just said, if you keep drinking like that, you're going to kill yourself. And when Cooper was 18 months old, I'll never forget, it was a Saturday night. My mom had been on a cruise to Alaska, and she got home. The house was dark. The mail was piled up. And she went inside and found him dead on my sister's bed. And it was terribly tragic. Terribly tragic. I just felt like he died alone. No one should have to die alone like that.
Did he fall, or was there
It
trauma to his?
It looked like he had fallen and hit his head. There was blood in the bathtub. There was a lot of just mess from his body around the room. And, it was so sad. And that pain that I felt on so many levels, that I couldn't save him, now I know what I know. But, even we had a celebration of life, a week later. And I didn't mention this before, but as a child, because of my brother kind of, his troubles, and then my sister was like such a sensitive soul, I felt like I had to be this together child. Megan can handle anything. She's tough. She can take care of it. And here I went right back in that role. I will field all the phone calls for my mom. Everyone was calling, wanting, it had slipped on social media, by a family member, and so she was getting all of these calls, and I took them, but then I didn't know what to say, and she wasn't comfortable saying what happened, so we ended up saying, collectively that he died peacefully in his sleep, and I remember at the church just like, this was a death that was so not peaceful, and then especially in the end when alcoholism has that grip on you, and then his celebration of life at our house, we were all drunk.
Right.
My mom's coworker said, "Megan, I will make sure your hand is never empty." And my uncle got so drunk he was throwing up in a trash can, had to get taken home. And I did have a moment that was like, "What are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are we doing what Hilton?"
Yeah.
I mean, the other people didn't know. Only the the inside family members knew it was alcohol that killed him.
Right.
I mean, how up I felt like that was.
So fucked up. And it reminds me, when my T. Scott passed away, we had a celebration of life at a bar restaurant, and I was still drinking, and I asked his sister, "You providing food, will there be drinks?" And I couldn't even believe I said that, honestly. And she said, "No, I will not provide drinks for something like this," when that's what took him down. And I mean, people still bought drinks because there was an open, pay cash bar. But um, it's so interesting, the obituary standpoint, because there's so much shame around it. And why would you put in there that that's how he died? But I will tell you, I know a friend recently who told me that she knew someone who passed away, and they did write that in there, that he died from alcohol addiction, liver cirrhosis, kidney failure, you name it. And I mean, how brave. Hmm. But if someone else reads that, because here's the thing, like, we should be talking about it. We shouldn't be so full of shame about it.
Well, and I will say now that I've been on both sides, to the child of an alcoholic and now like the parent drinking alcoholically, like I even didn't understand before I went through my own battle. Like I had that viewpoint, like it's a choice. Just stop,
Right.
and that's why
Like depression, or yeah. I used to feel that way about depression, 100%.
but
It's a choice.
I really feel like that's why I want to recover out loud. Because he suffered in silence.
Yeah.
And I, like you, feel really passionately about trying to destigmatize that viewpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's why I talk the way I do, because T. Scott was so full of shame. He was so stuck. And, for someone who was so big in his life in other ways, alcohol kept him so small. And his battle was so silent for the most part up until the very end. And yeah, I'm right there with you. So that's why we're sitting here talking about it. So your dad passes away. You become the savior in the family, providing for everyone who needs it. And you're also starting your family, and your drinking behavior. What does it start to look like? And when does it, and are there glimpses of, because for myself, I knew a long time ago that I did not drink normally, and that at some point I was probably going to stop drinking. Did you ever feel that? And what did it look like for you?
I'm so glad you brought that up. So I will say the first seed that got planted that I may have a problem is when I first got pregnant. I got pregnant really quick. The first time we tried.
Yeah.
I took a pregnancy test at my friend's house at her pool. She's like, "I have an extra test here. You just go take it." I'm like, "I'm not pregnant." And she's like, "But you haven't had your period." I'm like, "I work in reproduction. I would know." And then I wish someone would add a camera on my face. I was like, "Oh my God. Yeah. Holy crap. I am pregnant." And I instantly was like, "I can't drink anymore. I can't." And I was so angry about it. We had tickets to Bottle Rock in Napa for the first time. And it's all these 3-day concert, all these wonderful bands and wine and food. And I was so angry. I was moody all day. And that was the first, like, God, you're so lucky to get pregnant. Megan, you take care of patients who struggle. Like, so that was my first clue. And then when I was breastfeeding, I remember postpartum, who's going to sneak in a beer for me? Like, can I drink it real quick? And, we'll feed the baby and then have a beer and then pump and then I'll be good. I mean, who does that? Who is like, I was trying to squeeze alcohol back into my life after this big break I took.
Right.
And then, that's what started. I started counting my drinks because I didn't want to drink too much to contaminate my breast milk and timing it. And all of that was almost like my first run at moderation.
And your first run at major mental gymnastics.
Oh, well, yes. And what I didn't know as well is that I throw postpartum anxiety on top of that. I had a postpartum complication. I got septic with mastitis and I was in the hospital for a week on IV antibiotics. I had to have surgery for a breast abscess. And then our beloved fur child, Max, our mini Australian Shepherd, who was almost 5. We bring a newborn home and he's all cooped up and he runs out, chases a squirrel, and her neighbor hit and killed him with her heart. So now I'm like vomiting, so upset, crying, losing him. And then Cooper was born with cleft lip and he had to have surgery at 4 months old. Like, I don't know, it was 2 weeks before I went back after my baby bonding or my time home recovering. So he had that. It was just all of these things. And I thought, that's why I feel this way. But then when I had my second child, I knew right away. So now I had this postpartum anxiety complicating that alcohol was helping with, right? A drink would calm that down. So that moderation, the mental gymnastics, I was pretty good for like the 7 years that I was pregnant and or breastfeeding. But I will also back up for a second. When I was a new nurse, the stress of starting at the bottom of the barrel again.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of, you get tested as a new nurse.
Yeah.
And I think it's good because by the time you're 2 years, people expect you should be pretty proficient, like an expert. And, or 2 years you're competent, 5 years you're an expert. But so those first couple of years were tough. And labor and delivery is not just playing with babies. I mean, it is such a wonderful, rewarding job. But when it's hard, it's hard. And we get emergencies that require, very quick judgment. I've been on the unit and lost patients, lost babies. And so I started drinking at my stress. I also was a night shift nurse and I was not a night shift person. That really flopped my whole circadian rhythm. And I didn't like feeling tired on my conversion day. So guess what?
Yeah.
Alcohol gave me that energy and it calmed my brain down. So it was like a win-win.
Yep.
So that's where my drinking ramped up with the stress of job. My job. I was drinking at work. And then now I'm drinking at parenthood.
Yeah.
Now that mommy wine culture is setting in.
Yeah.
I became friends with a lot of families in the neighborhood. We fenced in my front yard. When I had my third child, I had Cooper 2014, Lucy 2016, and then Fletcher 2019. And when he was just a year old, pretty much COVID hit and we're all hanging out at home. He's like COVID stress at work. I have a baby and we fenced in my front yard and we're like, we could all visit across the street and we could be in the front yard drinking.
Yep.
Let's drink this stress. No one's ever been in a situation like this before with this pandemic. And then I'm dealing with it on my unit, labor and delivery. We saw COVID positive moms. I got floated to the COVID unit. I would come home and change. In my garage, I would strip down. Hopefully my husband left a towel for me, the laundry room, and run and take a shower because I had this baby. So it was like the new job, parenthood, and then the COVID, it was just like this perfect storm. I felt like I was losing my identity, losing who I was. And then I thought, you know what? I have my body back. I'm not pregnant. I'm not breastfeeding. Game on. Like I'm like the pendulum swung all the way here. I was taking care of everyone but myself. Let's do some self-care over here. Drinking sounds like great self-care, right? I mean, I don't know. So it was one glass of wine a night, turned into two, turned into a bottle. Then I started buying boxes. And now I kind of, maybe that's why my dad always had a box of wine because I couldn't tell how much he drank. And then I would get the cheapest I could get. Who cared about the quality if I'm going to drink a bunch of it?
Right.
I wanted the kids, get them to bed as soon as I can so that I could sit on the couch, watch Netflix,
Yeah.
and have a glass of wine.
Yeah. And the boxes at that time were becoming kind of bougie.
Yeah, you could get some nice, like the black box or
Oh,
the.
yeah. We had plenty of them. I got it. And I've actually, our friend Janet in Sober Motivation at one point in a meeting, we talked about getting that Mylar bag out of the black box and just squeezing
Would
it
you-
dry.
Would you fold it?
Hell
Like
yeah.
every little drop out?
Hell yeah, I would, and squeezing that knob. Yeah, I mean, and you're recycling the box. So it's very, we feel very prestigious.
Yeah.
It's all such bullshit.
Right.
But it is. It's like if that box is in your fridge, you don't know how much you're drinking, and that turns into a very slippery slope. In fact, this wine store on the Upper West Side, I just passed by a few days ago, and their whole window display was boxed wine.
Oh.
And I took a picture of it because it was a big memory. And I mean, I should have flipped it. That's usually what I do. Anyway, so I know that you talk about this neighbor, there were neighbor dynamics drinking that are a big part of your story. And so, move us right into May 20th. Whoa, verse.
So I had my first, I called on like my circle, the drain. January of 2025 was I had had a binge session. I called out to work all weekend because I couldn't stop throwing up. And that was a line I crossed. And that was my first, like, I can't drink. I need to stop drinking. And I tried. I white knuckled it for about a month. And then we had a trip planned to Cancun for my husband's 50th and another friend's 50th. And I'm like, I went a month without drinking. I'm fine. And it's all inclusive. I deserve to drink. And so, but I went right back to where I was. I was a mean drunk. My husband says I ruined that trip for him. Which I feel, looking back, there are a lot of those moments that I have so much shame over. And I sobered up when I got home. And then I had another sober period of like 30 days and got invited on another tropical trip. And that trip didn't go how I thought it was going to go. And I had a pity party for myself and I drank the entire way home and was sexually assaulted on the way home from that trip. So now that's another circle the drain for me.
Yep.
And I drank at that. I was like, I deserve to drink because that was a terrible experience. I don't want to feel anything. And I kind of pretended to my husband that I was slowing down. And I'll never forget that night before I quit drinking, my daughter had her friends were in a performance at a big performing arts center. It was like they were part of a dance club and she really wanted to go. So I took her, but I got shit faced there. And, I remember thinking, I hope the other moms don't know, like, this is a Tuesday night,
Yeah.
totally inappropriate to be drinking like this. And the next morning, my husband said, have you been drinking again? And I was so defeated at that point. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I give up. I had tried to get sober twice by myself. And I'm like, things have to change. Throw everything out of the house. Because even if there was a little bit, I mean, I will tell you, I drank all of his expensive whiskey. I think I drank triple sec and vermouth. Like,
Right.
did I say that right?
Yeah.
How disgusting. But I remember looking at the bottle and it had alcohol in it. And that's how bad I got so bad that I would, in these binges, that I would wake up at 3 a.m. with the shakes and the anxiety. And I would go climb up on the stool, grab one of his bottles, take like 2 shots and go back to sleep. I got to the point where I was withdrawal in the morning. I get the kids to school, come back and have to take shots. And basically when I told him to throw everything out that morning at the 21st, it wasn't that much to throw out. I mean, he was very surprised, right? Like, holy shit, this is all gone. because he didn't check up there regularly. It was all the stuff we say for like guests and stuff, this smoky whiskey that I hate.
Right.
But I stomached it because I needed it.
Yeah, exactly. So what'd you do on that day? You must have gone through withdrawals.
Oh my God, that day was terrible. I had the shakes, like I couldn't hold a glass of water. Like I was trying to hydrate. I think I remember putting a straw in a glass of water so I wouldn't have to hold the glass. And I called a friend over, a good friend, and I said, "Would you please?" She was the one that came on vacation for her 50th birthday. Michaela, actually, I'd like to mention her name. And she dropped everything and came and sat with me. Which she feels like it was like, I just came and sat with you. I'm like, but you have no idea. I was crawling out of my skin. Rod, my husband, thought I was having a heart attack because I'm having a panic attack. Like the chemical imbalance in my body was so intense. It was scary. And like please don't detox at home.
Yeah.
People are thinking of doing that. That's the nursey brain in me. I can do it myself because I was embarrassed and I had kids to take care of.
Right.
Who's going to watch my kids if I have to go into a detox? And Rod still had to work. I had some prescription medication that I knew would help with some of the detoxing, but that anxiety was like so intense. So she came and sat with me and said, you really need to connect. I had a friend in Paso Robles who was sober, but she's like, you need someone here.
Yeah.
And her best man in her wedding had been sober for 10 years. So she connected me with him, who then said, I know someone perfect for you. That one was in rehab with. She's a nurse too. She's, in the city just next to you and has kids. And let me see if I can share her number. And she was like, of course. And she talked to me right away. And at the time I was so desperate. And she said, I will help you. And what I think you need to do is go to AA. And I was desperate. She said, do the 90 and 90 and you should do a rehab program. She really wanted me to do an inpatient program, like all day. And with kids, it was the summer. And I went on a medical leave after the assault because I could not mentally function. And I knew that I was drowning in alcohol. And so I went to AA that night, and the group in my town, like Sober Motivation, just sitting there and hearing your story in someone else. And I was embraced with open arms, like this warm blanket, like, we've got you.
Right.
And I cannot tell you the relief that I felt, and things felt different. I no longer was feeling like something was getting taken from me. Or that I was missing out. Before, when I gave up alcohol, it was like, God, how come everyone else gets to drink and I don't?
Yeah.
And the narrative just flipped. And I was like, I'm not a drinker. I give up. Whatever I had done to myself. Yeah. My white flag went up, and I need help. I tried, you do it by yourself. And if you decide to change your mind, there's no one there to scold you or give you a hard time. And
that was how 21st?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To 2025.
Yeah. And the next day, so I started with AA, and then I started looking into an outpatient rehab program,
Right.
which I was so lucky as a nurse.
Right.
It was 100% covered. And I found a program that was 3 days a week for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I was able to find childcare. Some girl, it was all in the summer. So there were girls that were home, college students home. I live in a college town too, but so that it was just, everything came into place. And I had plans on day 2 of sobriety to go to Bottle Rock again.
To go where?
Bottle Rock. Same Bottle Rock, like serious, because my 12-year-old wanted to see Green Day. I wanted to see Sublime, and I'm still kind of detoxing.
But you went?
I didn't want to leave it. I didn't want to let him down.
Wow.
My husband said he would fill in for me if I panicked last minute. But I'm like, Megan, the food is amazing. Just focus on the food.
Right.
So they had yummy desserts like my sweet tooth.
Yes. Cuba Del, yeah.
But Green Day was the last act, and it was They were fucking amazing. If anyone is a Green Day fan,
Yeah.
live, they are just as good as they are on CD, radio. And I just, looking at my son, like, we just had such a moment. Like, we're both going to remember this. Normally at a day festival, I don't know about you, I liked concert day festivals that I would have been so trashed, I would have passed out for the last act or would have wanted to leave.
Yeah.
Um,
I wasn't much of a concert goer. But I mean, day drinking in general was something, yeah, it usually involved a party or, a gathering of some kind. So
yeah.
everyone else is doing it. Everyone else is day drinking at a concert. So, but the fact that you went on day 2 is pretty, I always like to say, protect that newborn baby, but you were like taking the newborn baby to the club.
I did, which was probably ambitious, but I knew I had him.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Right. He was a safety net for you. Yeah.
The first time, actually, what really helped me that first time that I tried to get sober, what broke up that drinking for me was my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter had colored me a sign that said, "I hope you feel better, mommy." And that I went, "Oh my God, I'm drinking just like my dad. I am no longer that. I can just drink on the weekends or just,
Right.
1 or 2 days a week." I was full blown drinking just like my dad, that mirror. And my children were like, I couldn't imagine promising them my sobriety and then taking that away because that happened to me so many times. So I felt like he was my safety net. And then a week into my sobriety, so I'm doing meetings on Zoom. We had a trip planned to Catalina. If no one has been, Catalina's gorgeous. It's an island off of Southern California. I went a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
And on the boat ride over, everyone was like dressed up in sailor hats, and the line to get champagne was through, around the boat, the ferry. Why is everyone dressed up? Well, it was the 10th anniversary of the Catalina wine mixer. And the whole island was like packed with people in costume and girls doing their TikToks. And this one bar, people piling out drunk. This one tiki bar, we would walk our kids up and down the boardwalk and they would just sit there all day. All day they wouldn't move. That used to be me.
Yeah.
And the space that recovering from drinking or thinking about drinking, the space that occupied
Drinking.
yeah,
Yeah. Those things.
in my head,
Yeah.
I had all this time for my kids.
Yeah.
I took them parasailing. Like, we went on this Jeep ride to go see the buffalo. I just felt so free. Like, I could really be present for them. And I didn't have this little yucky, troll sitting on my shoulder. Like, you don't need to hang out with your family,
Right.
Um,
Oh, God.
so yeah, the summer came and I had so much planned, and I've been a trip to Costa Rica with 11 other women. I was the only sober one, although our guide was newly sober, 21 days, so we were kind of buddies.
Yeah.
I got my first sober tattoo.
Yeah. What a be?
Yeah. And because I went to Costa Rica the year before with my mom took my family and my sisters, and my sister and I wanted to get a tattoo, and we were either too drunk or hungover.
Yeah.
These women were supportive, and I just realized, like, the concert. I went to a concert and had fun, like way more fun than I did when I was drinking, like real fun I remembered. Traveling.
Yeah.
I can have fun in travel. I can still be social. I can still be energetic. I can still, all those things I thought, I can still be confident. All those things I thought alcohol gave me. And it was just proving over and over throughout the summer, that I can still have fun.
Wait. So this is so fascinating to me because you really embrace it from the beginning. And if I'm thinking back to the sober motivation days, you joined sober motivation
2 months into my sobriety.
2 months in your sobriety, and then you were signing up and coming to Toronto on the meetup, and no one knew you from Adam.
I will say the night before,
This Brad was like, apparently this new gal Megan wants to come up. She was like, sounds good to me. Like, she just jumping right in there, and I thought the same thing, and I thought it was amazing. But I don't know, like, why? What was it about you embracing everything starting on day 2?
Accountability. And I knew that I couldn't do it myself. I know AA is not for everyone. There is you are powerless over alcohol. I know there's some people that don't like that term, but for me, I just knew that I could not like control my drinking. Like I couldn't just have one. And so I needed accountability for that. I needed a safety net. And I needed people to know what I was doing. I needed to kind of burn the boats, let people know so that I could get support and then I needed help. I could not do it by myself.
Mm.
That was very clear. And then the support network. I mean, just the peace and the calm that I felt knowing that I wasn't the only one going through this. It's not the older gentleman under a bridge with a brown bag. There are working professionals. There are, gray area drinkers. There are people that get external consequences, DUIs, divorces. I just, I saw where I was going. It was the elevator was going down.
Yeah.
And I could get off, but if I was going to get back on, it was going to keep going down. And that was your happier hour text from later because my time is 3 hours different.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
But I just knew I don't need a deep, like, I don't need it to turn into external consequences where my license is in jeopardy. I love my job. I respect my job. I don't want to put anyone's life in danger, my children's. It wasn't, and my dad,
Yeah.
I feel like, and my cousin and I had such a heart to heart over the summer when we saw each other in July. That was a busy month for me.
Yeah.
I did the Costa Rica. I went a water polo tournament and then I did the Toronto not long a month after that.
Yeah.
But anyways, we had this talk and I said, I really feel like my dad couldn't beat this. And if there's any positive flip on his passing, it was a gift. He gave me the gift of, Megan, this isn't what might happen.
Mm.
This is what will happen to you. It will. And that mirror, I have no doubts. I have no doubts. The route I was on, I had a moment in that first binge in January where I looked at a bottle of Tylenol PM.
Yeah.
And I thought, what would happen if I took that whole thing? Could I just make all this end? And then my nursey brain, I was on Google, how much do I have to take? And all those things pop up, suicide hotline.
Right.
And then I thought, if I don't do the job correctly, all this Tylenol is going to fuck my kidneys and I'll be on dialysis. I mean, the state that it gets you in, and I had no doubt because I tested myself those 2 periods I was dry. So it was life or death for me. And so accountability, community, the support. I mean, sober motivation. I have the AA program and I'm working my steps, but sober motivation is so different, but the community part is so similar. And it's like in my nursing career, I'm like blending all these different styles of nurses that have taught me. It's like I'm blending my own sobriety, journey.
Yeah.
And the sober motivation community has just been, and I met you 3
Yes. Yeah. Look at the camera and tell Brad how much you love him.
Brad, you're my hero.
You need the hat.
I am. I'm getting one. Shelly sent me the link.
Good. Good. Oh, there's so much good there. And I should have brought more tissues. But, when you say that you view your dad's passing as a gift. Yeah, I get that. I have reframed that with T. Scott. Yeah. Because it helps us get to where we are today. As painful as it is, I'm coming up on the 4-year mark of this passing. And, there are days I still can't believe he's not here. And there are days where I'm living so big because he because his passing is a gift and has allowed me to live that big.
I I would, I would mm, take it away if I could, and I would love to have my dad here, but I have to believe in my heart, with the way I'm living now, that he's such a big part of that.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, Megan, you are just so full of light and love and such an incredible beauty in this space. You really are. And it's palpable, I mean, and it's also really special because I think there are people who remove alcohol from their lives and they silently do the work and they feel really good about that, but it's really hard for them to live, live their truth out loud. And not that everyone has to, but I see you bringing it up. I mean, tell me, give me a great story about something that happened to you recently where you brought up your sobriety out of the blue and and how does that feel? Does that feel scary to do under a year sober?
I it Not now.
Yeah.
Not now, because it's like I do call myself an alcoholic. I'm a grateful alcoholic because I'm finally comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
I'm finally learning to love myself, like my confidence in all areas of my life. I just feel like everything has gotten so much better,
Mhm.
and I'm proud of it. It's not a shameful thing for me. It's brought me to this place. So, um gosh, just recently I did a camping trip for my daughter. It's a special camping trip for 4th grade. And yes, Shelly, it's sleeping in tents on the ground. And it's just one night, it's pretty packed. And we wake up, everyone wakes up at 7 o'clock in the morning. They want you to pack up your tent right away. And it's a gold rush era, is what the theme was. But one of my daughter's teachers asked me how I slept. Everyone was kind of moaning and groaning about the sleep. And I'm like, you know what? Any night that I'm not drinking is great. I slept fine. I don't drink anymore. And then she stopped me and looked at me and she's like, oh my gosh, I could talk about this. This teacher started sharing about her brother, her older brother, who almost died of liver failure, and his whole journey and how he's sober now. And we ended up talking for like 20 minutes in our pajamas, getting our coffee and bawling. And then there's 2 teachers that team teach it. And the second teacher walked up and we were all so emotional together. I, I have found that when I just bring it up, if somebody gets kind of uncomfortable, and I kind of stop.
Yeah.
But there have been so many moments like that where people open up and they are either personally affected or someone else close to them
Right.
is.
Right.
Um, I mean, it was such a beautiful moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And people, I find the same thing that people are waiting to talk about it, that it's not talked about often enough. And so if there's an opening, then I I welcome you in. Like, let's talk about it. I'm here for you. I it doesn't affect just that one person. It affects whole families, whole communities, whole workplaces. I mean, it's really like whole generations, So
Mhm.
you taking I mean, the fact that you are doing what you're doing now with your children as young as they are, breaking that generational trauma is just gigantic.
It it feels so good. My daughter, I am very open about my recovery. My youngest is 6, Lucy's 9, Cooper is 12, and I'm pretty rawly honest with the older 2,
Yeah.
and to a developmental level with the little guy. But she is so proud of me, and she picks out the word sober in music.
Yeah.
oh, so-and-so doesn't drink, Mom.
Yeah.
When are you doing the podcast? She called me on her way to school this morning. So excited for me. She's proud of me.
Yeah.
And that the ripple effect from sobriety, I would say if anyone is considering, going sober, removing alcohol from their life, and it feels so big, there's a ripple effect from sobriety, just like there is. Oh my gosh, sorry. It's that. It's your sober. It's your happier hour. I pushed the wrong button to stop it. It's so cute. I never wanted to miss him. I never wanted to miss her. I know. But the ripple effect from alcoholism or addiction, people want to think, well, who gives a shit? I'm just affecting my own body. You're clearly not. The ripple effect is so huge. Now I'm seeing it now in my recovery, and I know it's going to take some time to kind of clear up my wreckage. But I am already in 10 months seeing the ripple effect of sobriety.
Yeah.
And my 12-year-old boy talks to me more.
Yeah.
Like, he was so excited. I took him to that concert. We're going to Australia for New Year's, this coming New Year's. They want to spend time with me.
Yeah.
And it's positively affected my marriage, my career. I had a coworker so I went from 14 years on night shift to day shift. So only been on day shift for like 2 months.
Yeah.
But I had a coworker all week too. She's like, gosh, Megan, you come to the light side, the day shift, and you were just like so much energy, and look at you go. You're on all these committees. And I was secretly laughing. I'm like, it's not the 2 weeks on day shift.
Yeah. It's the 9 months and 2 weeks on sobriety.
A sobriety boot camp, I guess when I decide to do something, you enjoy 110%. And there's something so intoxicating. I was sharing with my friends that I'm visiting here.
Yeah.
About the sober community.
Yeah.
People are so just this like zest for life and to want to grow. I heard it in the meeting this morning.
Right.
About if I'm not growing. I mean, it feels getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I had, when I did Brad's podcast, that was my first one. And I felt okay through it and, said, okay, yay. And then the second we hung up, that hamster wheel went and went and went and went. It was that old narrative of like, you said something stupid, you made something mad, you're not good, you did a terrible, nope, we got to do it over, have him pull it. Don't release that to the big wide world, Megan.
Yeah.
And I had to fight through that.
Yeah.
And I had to sit there and be uncomfortable because the old Megan would have really drank on that.
Oh, yeah.
Really would have drank on that. Like, the fuck it, who cares what I said something stupid, just go drink. And I actually had a complete meltdown on day 2. I sat there and cried. I let all that energy out. And I had that, which I often hear in this sober community, like, you are where you are supposed to be at all. At that time, you were meant to be there. You were meant to say what you said.
Yeah.
And you're going to be okay. And I just sat with it, and I found out it was released when I was on the camping trip.
Yeah. But you can do hard things.
Yes.
It's a very used phrase right now, but it's so true. And I feel like if you can remove alcohol from your life, you can do fucking anything. And I was only about 4 months in when I coined the phrase for myself, if it scares me, it means I should do it.
And I hear your voice in my head all the time.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even done I think I had just done Brad's podcast, and I was having a meltdown when I said, you know what? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, Megan. You are meeting your 2 friends here, and you're going to be right down the street from Melissa. You guys are already talking about doing a podcast. Why don't you see if you can do it in person?
Exactly.
And I heard your voice. If it scares you, do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. And, and I have had to remind myself of that plenty of times in my sobriety of doing scary things and coming out, okay, no astronauts are going to die.
Yeah.
We build things up in our head. We stay stuck. I mean, I'm doing it for other people too. Let me tell you, on Monday night at my dance class, she brought in are you guys watching my dance videos?
I am.
She brought in a videographer and
So my
the light was out of the back and the camera, and and I was dressed. I had red lips on, and she came up to me at one point and said, "How do you feel about a solo?" And I said, "Great, like let's fucking go." And there were other friends there that I know because I it's a whole community for me now, and they wanted to do solos, but they they couldn't pull the trigger on putting themselves out there to do it.
Yeah.
At the very, we're getting towards the end of class. I said, "Katie wants to do a solo." And she got out there because I said it.
Yes.
And she killed it. She's an excellent dancer.
Yay.
Katie, I'm going to make you watch this. And she thanked me afterwards for that little nudge, that push that for some reason we cannot quite do ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
So I love doing that for myself. And when I do it for other people and it's received, if you're thinking of that phrase in your head, that means that I need to still keep talking about it because it works.
It does.
It really does. We all have a place and we can own it and like live our truth and our big, bright, beautiful, bold, badass lives.
Yes.
Badass lives. I had to sneak that word in here at least 2, 3, 4 more times. But that's and that's what sobriety gives us. That clearness to be able to encounter something and say, okay, I can do this. Yeah, I can do this. I quit drinking. I mean, God, I'm coming up on 1,000 days sober. On Mother's Day.
Oh my gosh. That's going to be close to my 1 year.
I know. I got it on my calendar. But and this is, you're I feel so connected to you, so drawn to you for very many reasons. Most of which is that you are just so excited about life.
I just it's such a fucking gift. I just can't get over. I thought I was operating at 100% before, and I was operating like this, chin barely above the water, right? And it feels like I had who said the rag in the engine? Was that in the,
Well,
did I hear that in a podcast?
our friend Aaron in Happier Hour talks about operating on all cylinders. Yeah, firing on all cylinders.
Yes, it's like you had,
Had one
thread
cylinder
stuck in your gadget, and now it's all clear.
Yeah,
I didn't know what I didn't know.
yeah.
And it's like, I cannot get enough of life. I cannot get enough, and even challenges. It's like where something goes wrong. I'm like, you know what? Okay, that happened. What can I learn from it? This is data. I'm collecting data.
Yep.
I didn't like how that went. I'm going to change it.
Yeah.
It's just this whole new narrative of like, life doesn't have to be happening to me, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can be happening with it. Like, life's still going to life,
Yeah.
but just changing that narrative. It's not. It doesn't have to be the world against me. Like, how can I, kick ass
Yeah.
in the world even when it rains.
Yeah. I know.
And you are just like, speaking of being drawn to, like, I've just been drawn to you from day one. I mean, you are infectious and your energy, it's just radiant. And what you are doing in sobriety and this podcast that you have and your coaching and your group.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the group.
Yes.
If you guys want to see more of Megan, she's actually in my Happier Hour group. I mean, I mentioned it on my other podcast, but I do have a group made up of all badass, sober women. And you don't have to be there with 3 years of sobriety. You have to just have the willingness to get out of your own way and show up. And it's just so beautiful. It's so wonderful. I never thought I would start my own group. I was very reticent about it, but I've just loved the space I've created and it's really special and this lovely lady is part of it. So if you guys want more information, it'll all be in the show notes. Oh my God. So
That's it. I pushed it right.
that's it.
It would kill me.
But I mean, in wrapping up, I any last parting words of anything you choose?
I guess I would like to share. I didn't even realize that I was dependent on alcohol. So Like if you're someone who feels like you need it every night or need it at every celebration or need it, like think about why. It really reprograms your brain. And it's like you don't know what you don't know. And I thought just because I was maybe a weekend warrior, well, you could still be addicted because you basically spend the whole week going through withdrawal. And then by the time you're kind of you feed your body again on the weekend with alcohol. I just didn't I had no clue. And then just give yourself a few days.
Yeah.
And just it doesn't have to be forever. You don't have to think about being sober forever because for me that was like I remember telling my husband, imagine if you could never have cheesecake again because he loves cheesecake. When you tell yourself you can't have something forever, it's really easy to have a mental block.
Yeah.
Even my brother, he would still drink alcohol every now and then, but he's shared seeing me sober. He decided to do dry January and we're now almost into April and he's still sober. Just try one day at a time and just see how you feel. How is your sleep? How is your alcohol contributed to my anxiety and depression like 100-fold.
Yeah.
Like I'm almost not anxiety free, but living in such a different mental health world. So that would be my parting words is if you're thinking about going alcohol free, just try, a few days and join Melissa's group.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just try it. Give it a shot. Get curious about it. I mean, what do you have to lose? You'll save some money or
Go save some calories.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Megan, thank you so much. You got to come to New York more often. Although you're here and I know you so well online, it doesn't even feel, it feels like, and that's the sober relationship vibe that we talk about too. When you get together, we're going to be riding high off of this for definitely the rest of the weekend, maybe even until it comes out even. But
Well, sober friends, you get real so fast.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
I think, did you say you make longtime friends really fast?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
we're at a level of friendship that can take years when you're in the surfacey, just chit chatting at a bar or
Yeah, because talk about real shit and we have real stuff going on in our
nothing
lives.
surprises us. I remember in Toronto, my introductions of like some of the stupid shit I did while drinking. I remember Josh is like, only in a sober group can you come in and introduce yourself like that.
Right?
No, everyone gets it. Everyone gets it.
Yeah.
Nothing shocks us.
No, nothing shocks us.
We're cool. We're we were the wild
Cool kids now. Hell yeah.
We're way cooler sober.
Oh my God. Yeah. And it's such a better look as you age, honestly. It is really,
If you're eating healthy and you're exercising, the best thing you can do for your body and your health is remove this class 1 carcinogen.
Yep. I'm telling you.
It's nothing but good.
Yeah, exactly. I had that speech competition last Saturday that I took second place.
Which you kicked out.
I'm over it. I kicked ass. I brought out the big guns, told my sobriety story in parts of it in 2 minutes, which is not easy.
Impressive. I know.
And probably the highest compliment, I mean, I had compliments from all sorts of people, so sobriety wise, but this young kid, Kadai is his name, and he also did a speech. Great kid. We're actually meeting for coffee. Manja ice cream next week. Because that's me. If you want to get together, let's get together. You know what I mean? I make a point to nurture those connections. I'm not gonna just say, yeah, sounds great. Anyway, I digress. After my little speech, in which I talk about maybe I could have done this in my 40s. I didn't do it till I was 51. You know what he says to me? I would have never guessed you were in your 50s. I was like, oh, God, you made a mama. Young to mama. That's like the best compliment I've ever had as a sober glow up. It's for real anyway. It is for real. It is definitely a major life hack. And it's just so good having you here. You guys, I'm going to wrap it up right now. But if you enjoyed this podcast, it's going to be on YouTube. And probably the regular audio too. I just have to figure out how to do that. But definitely on YouTube, and there'll be a place for comments. And please leave a comment. Let me know how you enjoyed Megan. And I'll put all of her information in the show notes as well, in case you want to follow her on Instagram and all the love and light she's spreading in the world. So thank you so much. Peace out. Give them a peace out.
Oh, peace out.
A sober New Yorker walks down the street. No need for a bottle to feel complete. The city